Alright guys, we're ready to put the 8-horse Briggs back together for the giant vac here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install our valves. So that will be part one here. So I'll start to put those in. And I'm going to put a little assembly lube on the stems here so that they don't start up dry. So we don't want that to happen. And I'll just lube that up a little bit. And we'll put them back in. And then the next thing that we'll probably do is we'll put the valve springs in. And then we'll do the lifters from beneath. And we'll be doing pretty good, I think, huh? Yeah, that's cool. The one on the intake valve on the Briggs is weird. It just has this little hook on here that you hook it into. And you don't even need to put keepers on it, which is kind of weird. I'm used to working on Kohlers where you got keepers and everything. And Onans, not these little winky-dink jobbers like this. So, but we'll get it together. So the next thing I'm going to do is from the bottom I'll put my valve lifters in and my cam shaft. And then I'll drop down my piston. Then I'll put the crankshaft in. I got to install the seals here on the crank and the magneto side here, PTO and magneto side of the block halves. And it should go together pretty easy, so check it out. Alright, the next step here is to put these new oil seals in. And they came in my gasket set here, which is pretty cool. And I'm just going to clean out this old surface here a hair first. And so I got two seals, one for the magneto side and one for the PTO side here. So we'll take this first seal here and we'll get it mocked up here. And I've got this nice little seal driver here. It's a Harbor Freight special, but it actually works really nice. And you could use a socket or something else, but this driver works real nice. Alright, that's one seal's in. I had my piston sitting in the carburetor dunk tank and it came out awesome. All I did was I let it soak in there for a couple days, and when it came out, I just hit it with a handheld wire brush on here, and the thing is mint. Now, when you install your piston, if it has a notch like mine, that has to go to the magneto side. So this will go in here like this, and you have to make sure your rod's orientated properly also, and I recommend just look at the Briggs manual. It tells you clearly how to do it. So what I've got to do is put this other seal in the other side of the motor, which is right here. So let me clean that out of here. And we'll see if we can get this one in here. Because I did bend this one a hair too, stupid me. Oh. Let's see. Not the easiest thing in the world to put a bent seal into something, but we'll get it done. Done harder things in life. There we go. Drive her home with the seal driver. Very nice, very nice, very nice. So, got that part done. Clean that off a little bit better. Very nice, very nice. So, what we're going to do now is get our crankshaft and plug that into this thing. And our camshaft and our valve lifters. So, let me get the bucket of parts here. When I took it apart, I tried to be smart and put them all in a bag. So when it got to putting it back together, it would be easy. So let's see if I can find those valve lifters. There's one. Here's two. All right, let's see. Here's my lifters. I marked them with a Sharpie when I took it apart as to which one was intake and which one's exhaust. So I have that all labeled. So we'll put another glob of that assembly lube on these. This is the intake valve here, so I'm going to flip this case upside down and backwards here and put this in the intake side. I'll rotate it around a little bit to get this lube going. Okay, this is the exhaust. Okay, that looks like that's good. Wipe off a little of the old oil that's hanging out on it. And again, I'll put a little assembly on here. Alright, here's the crank. So, this side here will come out the magneto end where the flywheel is. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of lube on there so when I pass it through that seal, it just works easier. Through the oil seal. I don't want to break my oil seal, you know what I'm saying? So this will make it a little simpler to install if we grease it up a little. So we got to make sure that it's timed properly. And you'll see there's a timing mark here and a timing mark here. And it shouldn't be a big deal to do. You know what? You got to take the, well, that's the easy way. I was just about to say, I actually got to take the camshaft out in order to put the crank in. There we go. That side's in. Shoot, my lifters just fell out. Let's put this back upside down again. Or maybe sideways like this will work. Get back in there, lifter. Where do you think you're going? Okay, lifters are in. I'm going to turn the crank so that the timing mark is kind of on this side, which is where the camshaft will be. I think I'm actually going to put the piston and the rod in before I do the camshaft. That way I'll be able to access this without having the cam in the way. So, you know what, I'm just going to drop the cam in temporarily. You know what, the cam won't be in the way. I'll do this. Let's see, here we go. So let's turn this timing mark over to this side. And we got the timing mark on the cam. See if we can get those together properly. There we go. So all I need to do is turn this a hair. There we go. That's all set. Bam. That's your dinner, right? Is that what Terrell says? And that's your dinner. So we got the crankshaft in and the camshaft in. When we put the piston in, the notch is going to go to the magneto side like this. I'm going to take the rod cap off before I put it in. So let me get some wrenches and do that. Now we're going to install our piston here. We've got the notch going towards the magneto. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on my rings here. And I'm going to make sure that the spaces on my rings are offset from each other properly so we don't have blow by here. That should be pretty good. And I'm going to use this old ring compressor here to do this. And to tighten it up a little bit. Let's see. kind of tough because it's covered with oil. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now let's tighten this sucker up. There we go, that's better. That's much better. Alright, so what we're going to do is, again, you got to make sure the bottom of the rod isn't in the way. Just take a hammer like this. It's in, just like that. That's simple. Alright, so now we got to, again, be very careful that you don't smash your crankshaft with the connecting rod here while you're installing it. There we go. The rod is snapped right in. I drew a line on here with a Sharpie before I put it together so that I knew that, before I took it apart, so I know that the rod cap is going on the right orientation. So what I'm going to do here is made up my 2 Sharpie marks, just like so. And we'll put these 2 bolts on, just hand tight for now. And then we'll take out the Briggs & Stratton manual and get the torque specs out and torque them up properly. And then all we really need to do is put our gasket on for our front cover here. And bolt on the front cover and check our end play. And they do give you a whole bunch of shims with the gasket kit, so you can get the right end play in your crankshaft. And we're almost done. We've got to put the valve cover on. No big deal. It's 4 screws, I think. And then the carburetor and the exhaust. And we're ready to put this sucker back in that giant vac. I can't wait. So, yeah, sounds good. Well, guys, I've got the crank in, the rod torqued, all that jazz. Now, I put 1 gasket on here for now. I don't know how thick it needs to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to install our front cover here, which has our governor on it here. And after we put this on, we're going to check our end play on our crank. And our end play is going to be determined by how many gaskets we put in here for this spacer. So again, I'm going to put a little lube on this crank here because I don't want to score up that seal too much. And there's a bearing surface inside of here too that needs some lube. So we'll lube that up, and I'll lube up my oil seal here. Get that going. So we'll put this cover on. See, it goes this way. Okay. Maybe I'll put like 2 bolts in it for now, just to get it started. And then I'll check my end play on the crank. Let's see. I put in 1 gasket. That will be the least that it can be. And it can always go bigger, right? But it can't go smaller. So this should be close enough. Just putting two of these bolts on there. So I have a lot of end play on here. What I like to do is use my dial indicator and measure it with that. But this is aluminum, so it's not going to stick to it. So I may have to find something funky to stick it on to do it. But I'm going to find my indicator and I'm going to put it on there and measure it. Alright guys, the Briggs manual says the end play is 2 to 8 thousandths. I took it off and I put every spacer I had in there because I was way too big on the end play. So let's see if we can remeasure it here. So I've got my dial indicator here. I'm going to put it down in the crank here and try to zero it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push the crankshaft up. Oh, that didn't work too good. I got to lower this down some more. Hold on. There we go. That's better. Zero out my meter here. So I'll push my crank up. What the hell? I'm not on a solid mounting surface. That's my main problem here. I think I got to flip this over and try it from the other side. Problem is this aluminum block has nothing magnetic for my dial indicator to anchor itself onto. Maybe up there. It's so flimsy. Let's give it a shot. It's just so damn flimsy. Maybe I can just hold it on the base here. Flimsiness and trying to measure 2/1000ths of an inch, they don't mix well together, if you know what I mean. But let's see what we can get going here. I'll try to make this sucker square to it first of all. Alright, let's see. Let me zero this out. So I'm on 0. Now if I lift up, too flimsy. If I move this thing a hair, I'm off. Let's see. Well, I have about 40/1000ths of end play, which is 5 times the amount that I'm allowed to have here. So I don't get what's going on. It appears that I need more gaskets in this thing. And actually, maybe I'm doing this backwards. Gonna need less gaskets, not more. So let me take it apart. And yeah, I'm going from 86 to about 26. So I have 40/1000ths right now. So let me take it apart again and put the thinnest gasket back in and see where we're at. Well, I got the end play correct, and it's about 7/1000ths, and the specs are between 2 and 8/1000ths, so I should be good. So basically my next step is to throw the flywheel on and throw the carb on, the exhaust on, the head, and the blower housing, and I'm done. I'm that close, so stay tuned. Well, I got most of the engine together, guys. You got the flywheel on, the magneto on, the muffler, the carburetor, everything except for the head and the shroud, basically. So the head's a little carboned up, so I'm going to clean that up a little bit first, and maybe tomorrow we'll put it back together, and it'll be good.